Okay, we are on to the second half of 2.1. First, we're going to remind ourselves what those perfect squares are. Remember 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, and so on. We have all the way up until 400 on here. We're going to do what's called simplifying radicals. So rather than estimating like we were doing before, we're going to find some exact values, and we're just going to go ahead and get started with an example, and hopefully you will be able to follow along. So for letter A, square root of 12. In order to get started with this, you are going to build a factor tree. What two numbers multiply to 12? In this case, we'll go with 4 and 3. Are there any two numbers that multiply to 3 that are not just 3 and 1? No, because 3 is a prime number. So once you get to a prime number, you can stop. But we can still break down 4. What two numbers multiply to 4? 2 and 2. So we have a 2, and a 3 for our tree. We're going to look at the numbers on the ends of our tree, which is the 2, 2, and the 3. And we're going to circle any pairs, any two that group together. In this case, we have 2 2s. For every pair that you find, you're going to pull one of them out. So I'm going to pull 1, 2 out to the front, and then the other disappears. And the 3 is what is left on the inside because it did not have a partner. It is only able to come out if it has a partner. Basically, it is only able to come out if you had a perfect square. So 4 is a perfect square, breaks down to 2 and 2. The square root of 4 is 2. That can come out to the front. Looking at letter B, what two numbers multiply to 72? Let's go with 9 and 8. What two numbers multiply to 9? 3 and 3. At this point, we have prime numbers. So now we can work at our next number. What two numbers multiply to 8? 4 and 2. Okay, 2 is a prime number, but we can still break down 4. What two numbers multiply to 4? That's 2 and 2. Now it's up to you if you want to list all of the numbers out that are on the ends of your tree, or if you just want to read off the tree. I recommend that you list all of the numbers that are on the ends of your tree. You're not going to include the numbers that are up inside the tree, only those numbers that are on the ends. Now we're going to go through and find any pairs, any groups of 2. In this case, we have 2 3s, and we have 2 2s, and we have 1 2 left over. For every pair that we circled, we're going to pull one of them out. So for the 3s, we're going to pull 1 3 out. For the 2s, we're going to pull 1 2 out. And we are actually going to multiply those numbers to the outside and then decide what is left on the inside. That is going to be that leftover 2. So the answer to letter B would be 6 root 2. So you group together the pairs that you have, pull them out to the outside, multiply them, and leave whatever is left on the inside. Remember, for each pair, you only pull out one of the numbers. The other just kind of disappears. Go ahead and flip your page. Let's look at some examples that include variables. So, looking at example set 2. Let's go ahead and look at letter B. Not only are we going to have to break down 96, we are also going to have to break off x squared. Let's actually start with x squared. What two things multiply to x squared? X times x. So you're always going to write out your variables. Then, what two numbers multiply to 96? In this case, we know 96 is divisible by 3, so we could do 3 and 32. 3 is a prime number, so now we're on to 32. What two numbers multiply to 32? 8 and 4. What two numbers multiply to 8? 4 and 2. What two numbers multiply to 4? 2 and 2. We got a prime number, prime number, prime number, prime number. We still have this 4 to break down, which is 2 and 2. So remember, at the end you want to list all of the numbers, and in this case variables, that are broken down in your tree. So we have a 3, a 2, another 2, another 2, another 2, another 2, an X, and an X. Okay, those are the only numbers or variables that are on the ends of our tree. Now we're going to go through and group together in groups of 2. Well, 3 doesn't have a partner, but 2 has a partner. This 2 has a partner. And one other thing has a partner, and that is these X's. So what are you going to pull out for each partner? You're going to pull out 1. So for these two 2's, I'm going to pull out a 2 to the front. For these two 2's, I'm going to pull out a 2 to the front. For these two X's, I'm also going to pull out an X to the front, and then the rest of them disappear. What am I left with on the inside? 3 times 2 is what's left on the inside. Didn't have a partner. So once we simplify this, we get 2 times 2 is 4, X square root of 6. Let's go ahead and do one more example, looking at letter C under checkpoint 2. So to start off, let's write out our variables. So we have x to the 4th and y to the 3rd. So we have x times x times x times x is what x to the 4th looks like. And y to the 3rd looks like y times y times y. From here, we now can break down 75. What two numbers multiply to 75? We could say 3 and 25. And the good thing about this is that it does not matter which numbers you start with. Maybe you start with 2 different numbers that multiply to 75. That's okay, you are still going to end up with the same answers. Okay, you could start with 5 and 15. And once you break down your numbers, your answer will still be the same. Then from here we have 3 and 25. 3 is a prime number. Well, what two numbers multiply to 25? 5 and 5. Oh, and those are both prime. Now we are going to write out all of our numbers and letters on the ends of our trees. So we have 3, 5, 5, X, 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 Y, Y, Y. From here, we are going to circle groups of 2. In this case, the 5's. There are 2 X's. There's another set of 2 X's. There's also a set of 2 Y's. We are left with just the 3 and the Y, so we know that those are going to stay on the inside of my radical because they did not have a partner. But for each partner that we circled, we're going to pull one out and the other is going to disappear. So for the 5 and the 5, we pull out 5. For the X, an X. For the other set of X's, an X. And for the Y's, a Y. When we simplify this, we have 5. X times X is X squared. Y square root of 3Y.